The night had settled heavily over Fort Redwood, a massive military base where discipline ruled every step and hierarchy was the law of life. Inside the sprawling training complex, hundreds of soldiers were preparing for the annual Combined Units Assessment, an event that gathered battalions from across the region. Among the crowd was a new face, a woman whose calm posture and sharp eyes made her stand out without her trying. Her name was Captain Elena Ward, recently transferred, quietly observant, and impossible to read. Most soldiers didn't know what to make of her, and rumors traveled fast. Some said she was sent because she was too strict, others whispered that she had political backing, while a few believed she was just another officer who would crumble under pressure. But none of them knew the truth, that Elena was one of the most elite covert operators the military had ever produced, a special forces shadow whose missions were buried so deep they didn't officially exist. Only 3 people on base knew who she really was, and Elena preferred it that way. On the morning of the assessment, the parade ground buzzed with energy as 282 soldiers assembled in neat rows. Their movements were crisp, boots polished to a mirror shine, uniforms pressed so sharply they looked carved. The base commander stood in front of them, announcing that today's evaluation would determine deployments, leadership positions, and special mission eligibility. Every soldier felt the weight of those words. What nobody expected was that the real test of the day had nothing to do with the drills, the shooting accuracy, or the endurance march. Instead, the turning point began quietly, hidden in the boiling temper of one man. Sergeant Cole Maddox, towering, heavily built, feared and admired equally, glared at Elena as she stood at ease beside her unit. Maddox had always considered himself untouchable. He ruled his squad like a wolf leading a pack, dominant, loud, unchallenged. But Elena's presence provoked something deep, something ugly. From the moment she arrived, she had corrected his sloppy field reports, outperformed him in weapon drills, and outmaneuvered him in strategy simulations. He hated that she never raised her voice, never tried to impress anyone, and yet still commanded respect. Maddox saw her composure as arrogance. He saw her efficiency as a threat. And behind that frustration, jealousy grew like thorns. After the opening briefing, the units were dismissed to their stations. Elena's group headed to the obstacle course while Maddox's squad stayed behind for melee assessment, hand-to-hand combat. Their instructor, Master Sergeant Reeves, barked names and paired fighters. Maddox smirked, cracking his knuckles loud enough to draw glances. He whispered to a friend that he hoped Elena would come near the mat. His friend laughed nervously, knowing Maddox had a mean streak, especially when he wanted to prove something. Maddox didn't want a sparring match. He wanted to humiliate her. Meanwhile, Elena completed the obstacle course in record time. Her teammates marveled at how she navigated every barrier with fluid precision. Not a drop of sweat on her brow, not a gasp of breath out of place. She continued to move silently, unnoticed except by those who paid attention. And Maddox always paid attention, especially to competition. By midday, the sun burned high above the base, casting long shadows across the training yard. All 282 soldiers gathered again to begin the joint close combat demonstration. The instructors explained that volunteer participants could showcase discipline, control, and technique in non-injury sparring. The tone was professional, but Maddox had no intention of following it. When they asked for volunteers, he stepped forward. And then, staring straight at Elena, he called her name. Conversations halted, heads turned, even the wind seemed to pause. Elena stepped forward slowly, her face neutral. She knew aggression when she saw it. She had seen men like Maddox in foreign combat zones, men who confused strength with intimidation. She didn't want a fight, but she knew walking away would only empower him further. She paused in front of the instructors, nodded once, and took her stance. Maddox grinned, convinced victory was already his. The sparring began with the customary bow, but Maddox barely dipped his head. He charged forward aggressively, swinging hard. Elena deflected with minimal movement, letting his momentum carry him past her. Murmurs spread across the field. Maddox attacked again, harder, angrier. Elena redirected the strikes cleanly, stepping lightly, retreating only when necessary. She wasn't using even a fraction of what she was capable of. But Maddox mistook her restraint for inability, and that misunderstanding cost him dearly. The third attack came faster. Maddox lunged, not with controlled technique but with raw force meant to overwhelm. He swung a punch fully committed, his body weight throwing itself forward. That was the moment everything shifted. Elena saw the intention, the recklessness, the danger. She moved before his punch completed its arc. A twist, a step inward, an expertly angled pivot. She trapped his arm, locked it, and with a precise downward torque, broke it clean in front of 282 stunned soldiers. The crack echoed across the field like a snapped branch. Maddox screamed and collapsed. Silence washed over the base. The instructors rushed forward. Medical medics sprinted onto the field. Maddox clutched his arm, writhing on the ground, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Elena stepped back, breathing steady, expression unshaken. She hadn't attacked him. She had reacted out of instinct and training. And only those at the highest level understood that everything she did was executed with perfect control. She hadn't gone too far. Maddox had. As medics lifted him onto the stretcher, whispers spread through the ranks like wildfire. Soldiers stared at Elena with new awareness, some with awe, others with fear, and a few with pride. The base commander approached her, eyes narrowed, voice low. He asked her one question: what level of combat certification she had. Elena simply responded, advanced. He asked who trained her. She replied, classified. The commander dismissed the troops for a 10-minute break before continuing the assessment. But nobody talked about drills anymore. All 282 soldiers had witnessed something they would never forget. They saw a man known for his strength fall to someone who hadn't even broken a sweat. They saw a soldier move with the precision of a ghost, calm as steel. And they saw the true difference between brute force and mastery. During the break, some soldiers approached Elena cautiously, not wanting to intrude. One young cadet asked if she was okay. Elena gave a faint smile, assuring him that she had only defended herself. She didn't enjoy hurting Maddox, regardless of what he had planned. But she wouldn't apologize for protecting her safety. Her calm sincerity softened the air around her, and the cadet nodded, visibly relieved. Behind the barracks, Maddox's closest friend stormed around angrily, claiming Elena had overreacted. Another sergeant reminded him that Maddox had lunged with intent. Even the instructors whispered among themselves. Reeves, the melee instructor, told the others that Elena's reaction was the cleanest defense maneuver he had ever seen. He said her technique was not only precise, it was elite. That single word spread across the base like a cold wind. After the break, the assessment resumed. Elena performed flawlessly in every category. Her leadership evaluation impressed even the toughest officers. She didn't bark orders. She gave clear, strategic directives that boosted her team's performance. Her decisions balanced risk and efficiency with a skill level that felt instinctive. The people who had doubted her now watched her with sharpened attention. As the sun dipped, painting the sky in deep orange, the final drill ended. Soldiers lined up for closing remarks. But before the commander could speak, a black SUV rolled into the base, stopping near the reviewing platform. The back door opened, and out stepped General Marcus Hale, a man so high-ranking that his presence at any routine assessment was unheard of. Whispers erupted again, but the general ignored them. His eyes scanned the field until they found Elena. He walked straight toward her. Every soldier held their breath. The general's expression was serious, but beneath it was unmistakable respect. He stopped in front of Elena and quietly said he had reviewed her transfer file. Then he said something nobody expected. Her true assignment had been moved up. An operation required her immediately. She was to leave the base within the hour. Gasps filled the air. Soldiers looked at each other, trying to understand. Only a handful realized what it meant. Elena wasn't a regular captain. She was Special Forces. She was the kind of operative deployed only when the stakes were too high for anyone else. The general turned to the commander and added that her performance today had confirmed what her dossier already stated, that Captain Elena Ward was one of the military's most skilled close combat specialists, and that the incident earlier had been a textbook example of controlled defensive expertise. The commander nodded solemnly. The soldiers, still processing the revelation, stood in stunned silence. Some felt proud to have witnessed what they did. Others felt humbled. A few felt grateful they had never crossed her. Elena saluted the general, received her orders, and walked toward the SUV. The entire field watched her. Not as a newcomer, not as a woman to underestimate, but as a force of discipline and precision they seldom encountered. As she opened the door, she paused, looked back once, and nodded to the soldiers. It was a gesture of respect, acknowledgement, and finality. Within seconds, the SUV rolled away, leaving behind 282 soldiers who would forever remember the day a man lunged to strike her, and she broke his arm with a calmness that belonged not to ordinary soldiers, but to legends shaped in silence and shadows.